Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first live stream session here on YouTube. Hopefully everything's coming through all right. My name is Doug Perry, and I'd like to introduce the rest of the members of the Percussion Collective. Say hi, everyone. My name is Doug Perry, and
hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Is Doug Perry, and
All right.
So, to all of my friends in the Percussion Collective, please mute your YouTube video. We are ready to go now. This is very exciting. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this. Your YouTube video. We are ready to go now. This is very exciting. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pass things off now to Victor Caccese, who is where's Victor in the?
I'm right here.
There he is. All right. So we've never done this before. This is really exciting. As you all know, a lot has changed in the world, and we wanted to try to take some of our activities to YouTube and try something new. And this is our first time doing it. This is really exciting. Victor, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug. Well, first of all, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We hope that everyone is staying safe out there, staying healthy. I know that it's been really crazy times right now that we're living in. So we hope everyone's staying inside and taking care of themselves. We wanted to put this live stream together and talk a little bit about who the collective is, what the collective is doing, but also give you a chance to really meet the individual members of the collective. Because we're a large group, I think we have almost everyone who is in the collective on this stream. Mm-hmm. There's a couple people that weren't able to join us, but because the ensemble is quite large, I think that we wanted to make this an opportunity to actually have all of you meet all of the members of the ensemble, talk a little bit about how we came together, and what our goals are as an ensemble and what we've been doing recently. So this group was, I'll just kick us off, and we're gonna have a conversation about a few different topics, but I'll get us started. This ensemble was put together by our former teacher, Robert van Sice. Bob van Sice is our artistic director. And this has been an ensemble that has actually been talked about for a number of years, even though I think we've been in existence for 2 or 3 years now. And we've been able to do a lot of really amazing things in a short time, which is so exciting. But this is a group that was put together by Bob van Sice. And one of the amazing things about it is it collects these, he has assembled a group of musicians from many different generations of his studio. So all of us come from, I think we've all been at the Yale School of Music. A few of us have also been at Peabody Conservatory, which is where Bob also teaches, Peabody and Yale, and also Curtis Institute. So he has assembled a group of musicians where he has the opportunity to choose very specific voices for each particular project that we're doing. And that's really for me, that's actually one of the most amazing things about being in the collective is I get to play different pieces with completely different ensembles. And very oftentimes I get to play the same piece. Actually, maybe even more interesting is that we have the opportunity to play the same piece with many different people. So if you take Seabourn, Garth Neustadter's piece Seabourn for percussion sextet, I think I've played that piece now I've played 2 different parts, 2 marimba parts, which is really fun. But I think I've played the piece with everybody actually here.
Oh, really?
On the stream right now, which is really, that's
wow.
Super cool. Yeah. So for me, that's been one of the most exciting things about this group is the fact that we get to collaborate with all these different people, some of which I have known for a really, really long time. Everyone I've known for a really long time. But certain people I've known a little bit closer just because I've been in school with some people and other people I haven't been in school with. So, for instance, Hye, Svet, we never went to school together. But I feel like when we get to play together, it takes on a really new, exciting dynamic. So that's really, really fun for us.
Do you think it might be nice for us to just kind of go around the cube and introduce ourselves one by one, just say like who we are and where we're from?
Yeah,
and what
yeah.
we do?
I think that'd be great. And I was also thinking it might be really great to hear how everybody, if somebody has a story or a memory of our former teacher Bob talking about the first start of the collective. So my name is Victor. I'll introduce myself first. Hi, everyone. I'm not keeping up with the chat on YouTube, but just wanted to say really quick, if anybody has questions for us about anything about the collective, about what we've been up to, what we're going to be doing in the future, please just drop it. Maybe it's over there in the chat on YouTube, and we're going to have a few people that are monitoring that, and we can keep up with those questions. But my name's Victor. I went to Peabody Conservatory. I went to for undergrad. I went to Yale School of Music for grad school. I'm a member of Sandbox Percussion, and I remember when I was in undergrad, I was one of the few people that had a car. So when Bob would come in to teach every few weeks or so, he would basically teach all day. We'd have a long day of lessons and master classes and chamber music coachings. And at the end of the day, I was usually the one who would give him a ride to his hotel. So I remember on a couple occasions, he would tell me about this project that he's so excited for. I mean, this was back in 2009 or something like that. He would tell me about this project that he was so excited for, to assemble a group of his students or a group of his former students, some former and some current students, to create this ensemble, this collective of folks who can commission music for percussion, can be a touring ensemble, professional touring ensemble, and a group where he can kind of handpick different people for certain projects, concerts, recordings, things like that, and how excited he was about the prospect of doing that. And I just remember being in the car and thinking to myself, like, wow, what an amazing opportunity that would be to get us all together. I can't imagine what certain difficulties there will be to amass a certain group like that together to actually come together and perform concerts. But alas, we've done it, and Bob did it, and we're here now, and we're the Percussion Collective. So that's really exciting to be a part of that. But we can let's pass it around and hear from some other people as well.
Can we maybe go from like left to right on the stream screen? So how about Jihye? Do you wanna introduce yourself? You're muted. Yeah.
Got it. Hi, my name is Jihye. I am part of Percussion Collective. I'm really happy to be here on the live stream with all of you and with my colleagues here. So I am a professor at the Vanderbilt University. That's my full-time job. And another job is I have a 2-year-old toddler which I chase these days and make me very busy. And I also play with a chamber music group in the West Coast called Camerata Pacifica. And I have to say, like, Victor, that's really nice to hear your story, because I left school 2009. And I think that's when we were starting to hear from Bob that he's planning this group. And I think it happened last year when we all got together. It's been 10 years. I've seen some of you and play some of you. And for me, what's most exciting part about being part of this group is that I have such a beautiful and intense memory of YPG, Yale Percussion Group concerts. And for me, that's, if someone asks me until nowadays, what is some of the most memorable musical experience that you are playing, I'll probably pick one of those YPG concerts. I don't know about you guys, but just how intense we work and how beautiful it is. And after the concert, like, you wish that you can play one more concert. Like, you work so hard, and I wish I can just do this. And I think for me, Percussion Collective is creating that sort of outlet for me to come together with my friends and some of the new friends that I meet through the Percussion Collective. These are all my, really, I think all of you as my family. I actually do have a family member sitting right there. Jisu. And I really think that, through Bob, it created a bond that it's more than just percussion friends. And so when we play together, it means really great deal for me. And it's really special that we get to do this. And Bob created this gift for all of us to be part of, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, I guess I'll go next then. That was great, Hye. My name is Doug Perry. I am, outside of being a percussionist here in the Percussion Collective, and faculty member at Western Connecticut State University, a freelance musician based in the Connecticut area, and I guess I'm kind of the outlier of the group because I'm like the weird gamer. I'm like a Twitch streamer, and I record for video game soundtracks a lot of times. I do a lot of stuff with video game music, but I joined the collective, well, I guess when everybody else did. But my earliest memory of it actually was similar to what Jihei was talking about. When I was in the Yale percussion group, this was back in like 2012 to 2014 or so. My second year there, we had this ridiculously intense concert where we played Steve Reich's Sextet and a piece called It Is Time by Stephen Mackey. And it was one of the most intense experiences of my life as a musician, as somebody who had to learn music. Everything that we performed was more or less played from memory, that concert. And it was a lot of music. And on top of that, I had to learn an instrument that I had never played before, which was steel pans. So I just remember having like an incredibly crazy semester trying to get everything together and trying to, learn all these parts. And we played the concert and it went really well. It was that nice cathartic moment that seems to happen not often enough, where you work really, really hard for something and actually it paid off. Everything went great. And similar to Jihei, I remember thinking like, man, I would love to do something like that again. Like I was so used to hearing all of my colleagues say like, oh, you got to enjoy school while you're there because once you graduate, you'll never play music like this again. And then our professor, Bob van Sice, he pulled us aside one day and he said, guys, what if we could play music like this again after school? And started talking to us about his idea of putting together an ensemble that would play all this repertoire that we were playing while we were students. And I got super excited about that. And then over the next couple of years, I gradually started to see this idea come into fruition. And the next thing we know, we're commissioning new composers and playing these great works. And I get to play these concerts with these wonderful people all over the place. And so that's my sort of founding memory of my first collective experience. It is very special to me. All right, Kramer, off to you.
Alrighty, well, my name's Kramer Milan, and today I'm coming from sunny Cedar Falls, Iowa, where I am the professor of percussion at the University of Northern Iowa. And I also play in a regional orchestra where I'm a principal percussionist there in the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony, and I play in the Percussion Collective. And I think one of my favorite early memories of the collective was actually our first concert, which was in New Haven, Connecticut, where close to 20 of us gathered, I think, together to learn and rehearse for the first time. And when we came together, we were rehearsing a sextet, and we had 20 people, meaning like about 3 people each on a part. And this rehearsal process of being able to play back and forth, where we're switching out parts constantly, where we're all like helping each other hear the music in different ways or different ideas, was just such a wonderful and unique working process that really helped to make a really fulfilling experience and a really efficient and productive experience where so many of us could get together and think about how we want to make music. And I think that's one of the most awesome parts about being in the collective is our sense of community and unified effort around what we do.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, Kramer. I think we're getting a couple questions in our chat on YouTube, so maybe we'll keep going around and we'll keep introducing everybody. Just a little bit about who we are, who each of us is, how we entered into the collective, what our experience is like with that. I think that's great. We'll keep it quick, just because we don't want to stream for 4 hours. If we were on Twitch, we could. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's next? Johnny. Johnny will be brief.
Yeah, there's really not much to say here. So my name is Jonny Allen. You can probably see it in the corner there. Member of the collective, also play in Sandbox Percussion with Victor. I figure I would just tell a funny anecdote from the early days. as people were kind of saying, the group is kind of founded on the base that we all formed in the Yale Percussion Group, where you work all year for one really special evening of performance. And I think we all felt like those were some of our most memorable experiences, and we wanted to keep doing that out of school professionally. So after one of these concerts, rehearsed for 6 or 7 months, we were performing a piece by James Wood called Cloud Polyphonies. And to say there's a little bit of pressure on that concert is a massive understatement. It's kind of the moment that you build up to that entire year. And so it had been going really well, like we were super prepared, but the stage was a little smaller than the rehearsal space we had been practicing in. And we had this moment where we were playing these bull roars, swinging them over the top of our head. And
I know where you're going with this.
Oh, you know exactly where this is going. And so you need like a safety kind of radius around you to do this. And it's at a kind of a low point in this massive movement, really quiet actually. There's just kind of hum getting passed around the stage. And I think I must have zoned out or something and stopped focusing. But Mari Yoshinaga, go ahead and wave, Mari. We collided our bull roars, just whack, like right into each other. And it was me versus Mari, and she just destroyed me. Her bull roar stayed intact, and mine just split in half and went flying across the stage. Might have hit a gong or a glockenspiel or something. Kind of, it was noticeable. It was very noticeable from the audience. And there were some people in the audience. Actually, Jihye, who we've already heard from, was at the concert, and I hadn't met her yet. But of course, with everyone in the group having studied with Bob and stuff, everyone's reputation kind of precedes them. And so I absolutely knew who she was, and I was really excited to meet her after the concert. And after everything's done, she's playing the bull roar, and I'm like kind of working up the courage to maybe go introduce myself. And they're like, well, be careful with the bull roar, don't break it. And she goes, well, I'm not Johnny. And I'm just like, oh, I'm Johnny. Like, nice to meet you.
I just met you.
Broke the bull roar. I guess.
That was my fault.
No,
that was my fault.
Too strong. But that was the beginning of a longer relationship. I had to kind of work my way up from the bottom, but I think that builds character. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that story, Johnny. I had forgotten about that. But yeah, that's so cool how, we each have, I think, these funny different stories that we can draw from when we met each other and when we first got to play with each other and things like that. But, now that we're able to come together and do this group and realize sort of our mission is really fun. So cool. Should we keep moving?
Yeah.
Jeff. I want to hear who Jeff Stern is.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jeff Stern. I went to UMass to start out my education. I studied with Ayano Kataoka, my professor down there. And I got just kind of really lucky, serendipitously, getting pulled into this family and lineage of teaching from Bob. And I was also really close geographically to be able to go down to Yale. And I remember going down to see my first YPG concert and just getting totally hooked. That kind of changed everything for me. I became the biggest nerd and knew everybody that I shouldn't have known yet. And I think Bob seems to remember that I went up to him after the concert and just told him that I was going to study with him one day. I don't think it was exactly like that, but things did work out, and I went to Peabody after that, and then ended up at Yale and got that experience that I wanted. And now I play in a 2-piano, 2-percussion group called Icarus Quartet with Matt Keown down there. And I teach actually alongside Bob and Jisu and Matt at the Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore. And yeah, this collective has been a dream come true. I think since becoming that super fan, Yale was kind of as far as I thought about getting. That was kind of the goal. And then as I was finishing that, I really didn't know what was next to look forward to, and this group and continuing to play with some of my colleagues here just became a natural step to keep that going. So I'm really happy to be part of this.
Awesome, Jeff. Yeah, thanks.
I just want to jump in and say I too studied with a Percussion Collective member briefly for about 2 years. I did my master's under the tutelage of the incredible Hye Jung over here. That one right there. Right there.
That way.
All right.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Ian, you want to say hi?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Ian. I'm the third member of Sandbox Percussion that you guys have heard from. All four of us are hiding somewhere in this screen. And yeah, I guess I just wanted to respond to one of the questions that I think it really has a lot to do with what we're all talking about here. Orson wrote, he was asking about how the work in the collective has affected our solo careers. And well, just to talk quickly about Sandbox, I mean, all of the members of Sandbox are also part of the collective. And as Jeff just mentioned, almost everyone else in the collective is a part of other groups or has solo careers and teaching jobs and lots of other activities that they do. And that, for me, was one of the reasons why I was so excited about this project when Bob was telling me about it, because I just couldn't believe that we were going to be able to assemble people from all of these different places, like that we were going to get all of these amazing percussion groups and chamber music groups and teachers and solo artists and put them all in the same room together, and then have this kind of like super group of an ensemble of people who can sub in and out depending on who's available for a particular gig. I mean, just for me, like, we all went to the Yale School of Music, we all studied with Bob, but we all did it at different times. And so the thought for me to be able to play again with the folks that I went to school with, because I went to school at the same time as a couple people here, the idea that I get to play with some people who were older than me that I had just kind of heard about, but I had never actually played with. And then, of course, to play with some of the younger hotshots at the studio right now, who I was very excited to meet and start to play with. It was just an exciting thing. So yeah, that's me.
That's great. Yeah. Thanks, Ian.
Jisu.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jisu. You've heard from Jihye, we're kind of related. But I would like to say the one thing, my experience with Collective has been really grateful for me. So I'm just really grateful that I get to play with these amazing musicians and people in general, and get to play the Joyce music all the time, all together, and that continuing the magic that we have during the PPG, which Peabody Conservatory Percussion Group, and YPG Yale Percussion Group, that we have that kind of special moment, that we can continue doing it and bring onto the stage. That really like brings me the biggest joy, and it's just kind of unbelievable, and kind of like one day I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this with these people and like playing this amazing music. And it's really different from playing the solo music on the stage, because your joy is like 4 times bigger or 6 times bigger, and then you're sharing that moment all together. So it's been just really magical. But during this quarantine, obviously, I'm having this dreams day by day, just like thinking that we're playing the concert in my dream, and I wake up and I just get depressed. But but I hope that it's gonna come soon. And I mean, we all know that it's gonna come back soon to our life. But we're really great that we get to share in this kind of format, even so that we can be all connected, and very grateful.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm kind of hearing I guess I hear a little bit of a common thread when each of us talks, and it's kind of that the experiences that we had in school with each other and with Bob and playing chamber music with Bob is really part of the thing that extends into this group. The love that we have for each other and for the music that we're playing really extends into this group. I think that for me, one of the most exciting things about being a part of the group is not even so much that we have necessarily the same education or the same teacher, but the fact that we have many different personalities and different strengths, different passions, different goals, and they all come together in this family. I think I was Jihye, maybe you were alluding to it a little bit. We have, we all have kind of our own different projects and things that we do, which is sort of maybe like our immediate family, or the family that we spend the most time with. But then when we get together and we have these sort of massive reunions with each other, that's really, really exciting. It's like those big extended family reunions. And when we get to realize that on a concert stage, that's really cool. So the first one that I'm thinking of is, I think the first concert that we ever played together as a collective, which was at the Yale School of Music a few years ago. And that was, on that concert, we played Sextet by Steve Reich, but we also gave the world premiere of Seabourn by Garth Neustadter, which is, if you haven't heard that piece yet, if you haven't seen a video or heard a recording or been to a concert, I urge you to check it out, because it's one of our favorite pieces, not only to play but also just to listen to. Garth is really, he also went to Yale. He was actually my hearing TA when I was at Yale with Miss Panetti. So getting to work with him on this piece is really exciting. We've had a chance to perform it a number of times. We had a big sort of massive reunion, kind of first time gathering at Yale a few years ago. We rehearsed all week that piece, and premiered it for a big celebration concert. I think it was Bob's 25 years, was it? I think it was 25 years teaching at Yale.
When was that? That was what, like March or something?
March 2018, right?
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's right. Yeah. So that's a piece that we play a lot in the collective, and we're currently realizing a few other commissions and pieces and projects, and a lot of them very much so center around that piece and around Steve Reich's Sextet. And that's kind of the goal of the collective, to create these programs that are very meaningful, large programs that can be centered around certain percussion masterpieces. So that one, for instance, is centered around Sextet, Reich's Sextet, which has been a huge kind of teaching tool for Bob in our time studying with him. I say teaching tool, but that kind of makes it sound like not a good piece. It's a great piece. It's a piece that we love to play, and it's a great teaching tool because it's such a great piece. And we feel the same way about Seabourn. So anyway, should we keep chatting around? Should we meet some other people?
Let's keep chugging along. We're like halfway there.
Okay, great. That's great. We'll knock out different components of the collective as we're meeting different people.
So I think Googie, you're up next, right?
All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our first live stream, which is quite exciting. So I was introduced to the Bob van Sice percussion family through Svet Stoyanov, who I met in Bulgaria about 13 years ago. And the rest of the Percussion Collective members I met throughout the years in the past 12 years while studying at Peabody and Yale. And I'm currently an orchestral musician located in the outskirts of Shanghai, in a beautiful Asian city in China called Suzhou. And I'm also serving as an adjunct professor at the Soochow University of Music. And for some of us who didn't pursue their dream to go into a chamber music career per se, after we left school, I really miss playing on the highest level possible, and to be given this opportunity to reunite with all my friends and colleagues and some of my favorite musicians who are on this stream right now, it's really been a dream come true. And one particular story that I can remember recently was when I joined the collective for their Chinese tour, when they came to visit a couple of cities, Shanghai, Beijing, and Nanjing, and I played on the concert, particularly taking place in Nanjing. And that's a very familiar stage to me because I had played many concerts there with my orchestra. And to be able to share the stage with the Percussion Collective on a stage that I had been previously many times was a dream come true. So I'm really looking forward to many more performances and commissions and making music on the highest level possible that we can. So I'll pass the ball on to Vic again. Thanks, Vic.
Yeah, cool. So great to hear that, Googie. I think it's really exciting to hear that everyone in the collective is from very different places in the world, actually. I think you might be the farthest, but that's really cool that we're able to come together, even though we're far stretched. And maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of how we organize ourselves. We might even have a question about that already, just sort of balancing certain tasks, logistics, things like that. I was saying before that it's Bob's job as artistic director to really handpick certain people for certain projects and concerts. So we all sort of find a way to gather that group from different places where we live. That's cool. Thanks.
Okay, Ayano.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ayano. I'm the oldest member of the group, I believe, and I teach at University of Massachusetts Amherst since 2008. And I was at Yale actually between 2003 to 5. So that's like really, really long time ago compared to all of you guys. Who, yeah, you guys are much, much, much later time to be at. So I'm a rather older generation of the group. And also I should say that 2003 and 5 when I was at Yale with Gwen and who is not here today, but yeah, I went to Peabody and Yale for 4 years together with Gwen, and that was a very special time. And then, in fact, when I came to Peabody, Svet Stoyanov, he was a junior at the time, and then also Mike Competero, who is not here either.
He's not here, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so he was freshman, so that's kind of the generation that yeah, kind of coming through. And then yeah, who else? Well, and as Jeff mentioned, I told him I met him at UMass Amherst when I started to teach. You were sophomore, I believe, right? So for me, collective has been really wonderful in probably a little bit different direction from all of you guys, because again, sort of I'm a rather sort of older or the first or even 0.5 generation of this Yale sort of family that when I was there, it was different. And then Bob has been really pushing us through YPG to create. And I remember that actually we did sextet my second year there, and I played one of the vibraphone parts, and then Gwen did the other one, and that was really yeah, memorable. One of the memorable concert. And then yeah, we have been doing sextet in this like different formation and this different member to have been playing so many times by now. And then that has been, as someone mentioned, it's been really refreshing each time, although the memory, like the experience of the each chamber is somewhat, you know, remembering in your sense. But then when you, yeah, play with other members, that's definitely a different experience. But then also coming back to that, you know, special moment, and then that's really keep, continuing with that, and then also improving artistically, and then that has been a really wonderful experience for me. And then also for me, as a little bit older generation, I should say keep saying about old, but anyway, yeah, but it's so nice to be able to connect to younger generation. And then I have been able to connect through like Jeff as a mentor to be, and then also Ian. Yeah, I have been playing with him at Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center quite a long time by now, from time to time, and that has been a really wonderful experience for me. And also lots of through Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, fortunately, we have been able to play so many wonderful musicians of the different instrumentalist. And when I mean, that's been wonderful, but then at the same time, this collective being sort of like a pure percussion ensemble with the hardcore wonderful music to play. And then that's been also for me sort of like home base to come back and then play together. I think that's been a really wonderful experience for me. So yeah, I guess that's it.
That's great, Ayano. Thank you. Yeah, you were kind of joking a little bit about the different generations, but for me, that's also one of the things that's so fun about it is the fact that we do have, 3 or 4 different generations that are kind of coming together and realizing this common goal, because we have similar musical values, so I think that that's really special. Okay, so I don't want to derail our introductions, but I think maybe we do have a couple questions. I think I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity to make sure the floor is totally open for questions. If anyone wants to reach out to us on our YouTube chat, please feel free to do so, and to fire us some questions. We're here. We'd love to hear from you, because this is kind of one of the rare opportunities we have to have everybody kind of in a virtual room together to talk a little bit about who the collective is and what we're up to. I do realize now that we have the few missing members that we have here right now are Gwen, who teaches in Michigan, Mike Compatello, and John Greeny. So I think those are our 3 that are missing right now. So it's a rather large group, but it's really cool that we have almost everyone here. Okay, so the one question that I am thinking about right now that we got, I believe it was through my chat here, Christian, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Christian Kuhlman. How does the collective divide up the work for non-performance-based jobs, grant writing, publicity, budget, and things like that? I think that's a great question, and one that we're always thinking a lot about, thinking more about how we can evolve as a group logistically, organizationally. And it's actually it's sort of having a big group of people like we have in this ensemble. It's sort of the one thing that is actually an asset for us, because there's so many different jobs that we have to do sort of day to day to make sure that our own personal work works out, but also the work of the collective. Does somebody want to start to take a stab at some of this? I know we have a few defined jobs, but it's actually a very flexible thing in this ensemble, something that we're always constantly kind of adjusting and working out. I don't know if maybe Svet or maybe Jihye want to jump in and talk a little bit about just kind of how we organize ourselves.
Go for it, Svet.
Hi, everyone. Well, I think that one of the things we do well is use our strength as a team of many. With that, I think comes in tremendous variety of skill sets. And one of the great things about the group is that we all share values together, and we're really good friends, which is priceless to me. It's one of the most important things I think about this whole group. Every different challenge or every different project we undertake demands different kinds of personnel or type of work. So what we do is we generally, first of all, we communicate. We just try to be in touch with each other. And there are certain tasks that we have established being handled generally by specific people because that seems to be their expertise, or they really love doing this, or they've requested doing it. And sometimes we end up just taking a task and then literally looking at what's the best way to approach it. So we're being open-minded. Sometimes we will take things and simply reassign people to handle them specifically for those particular projects. And sometimes we do have generally assigned people who do tend to handle particular tasks by default. Group like this demands a lot of communication. And, it's interesting because so does chamber music. And if you think of it this way, we just translate into human what we know from music, and we just try to communicate. We try to collaborate all the time, and I think that makes us also just much closer, much better friends. And we do not always agree. The whole idea here is not to be right, but just to help the collective grow and to find the best decision. So generally, we just try to collaborate and to communicate as best we can, and to stay really creative and open-minded. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I think one thing that we all do, though, as members of the collective, is that we're always trying to look for new performance opportunities. I think that's the one job that is like the universal. Everybody does this, is that we're always talking to our contacts in various orchestras or presenters, so on and so forth, about what the collective does and if they would be interested in having us. From there, we also lean on members of the group that have specific skill sets to help us do specific things. I think one example I was thinking of is who's not here right now. Mike Compitello is a fantastic writer, like a really stellar writer. So oftentimes he will help us send out, important emails or like come up with proposals and things like that for us. And another example is this stream. I'm the only one who knows how to do this, so I'm running this stream. So we're always looking for like what skill sets does every member bring to the group that we can also work with, and we have such a diverse skill set within the group that it really is incredibly productive and efficient, actually.
That's great, Doug. Yeah, thanks. And thanks, Svet, as well. Yeah, I think that the constant communication between all of us is definitely key. And the fact that we're such great friends, I think helps.
One thing to say here that's really unusual is I think there's very few groups that have these types of numbers where everybody can just contribute equally to this and can literally call up a meeting and say, hey, can we please talk? And that has its challenges, but you can also look at it from the perspective of what are the benefits of it, which is how we try to do this.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, in the spirit of moving us along, I just saw a question from Oliver. We were chatting with Oliver actually a couple days ago on another stream. So it's great to hear from you, Oliver. Thanks for saying hi and checking in. He asked a question. Seabourn is such a beautiful piece. Seabourn is a piece by Garth Neustadter, percussion sextet. It seems to carry a very specific message about the importance of conserving our oceans, is pushing for social change a part of our mission. So for those of you who don't know, Seabourn is a piece that brings together video and music. So the music is by Garth Neustadter, and then the video is actually created by Robert van Sice, who's Bob's son. We all have known Kjell for a really long time, actually. So to actually have an opportunity to collaborate with him on a piece is really fun. The video consists of lots of different cinematography of oceans and water. I think specifically based around a lot in Mauritius, near Africa, and then also in Hawaii, which was a place that Bob's family lived for a number of years. So ocean photography and ocean sports, water sports, was a huge part of Kjell's life. It is now, and it has always been. So that is very much a big core component of this piece. I think I'll let some other people jump in, maybe a few who haven't had a chance to introduce themselves and talk yet. But I think that it's hard to ignore having a piece like that. It's hard to ignore wanting to have some sort of voice for social change. I think that the piece is a beautiful piece, but it's actually very much about the fact that our oceans are dying. It has these incredible aerial shots of coral reef. And I didn't know any better until Bob told me, but actually all the shots of the coral reef, it's all dead coral reef. So there are these beautiful, it's beautiful blue oceans and beautiful waves and things like that, but it's actually a little bit of a very serious topic about the oceans that we love, conserving our oceans, and just being very mindful of how we're treating our planet. So that is a big message in this piece. Doug, do you have a little clip that we can
you want me to play maybe the first minute or so of the piece?
Yeah, let's hear just a little bit of it.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right, I think that gives us a good bit of flavor here. This performance was brought to us by Vic Firth, and it was performed at PASIC, Percussive Art Society International Convention. So thank you, Vic Firth, for creating this beautiful video for us. It's really, really great. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was another fun one of those. I think there were kind of three big meetings of a lot of members of the collective. That was the second one. And then the other one was actually at Avaloq Farm, actually this past summer. If we have time, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we do have a bunch of new questions, a bunch more questions. So thank you everybody so much for reaching out and saying hello and for your questions. Let's start taking a few of these, and I'll pass them around to some folks who haven't had a chance to talk yet.
Yeah, actually, it would be great for everybody, for the rest of the members, to at least be able to say a few words about who they are. I know we definitely want to be able to get some of your questions because they're really great questions.
Yeah. I was looking at this one. I thought this one was really interesting. It's from Benjamin Hellert. How do you all handle music of such intensity with such little time? Does it ever get overwhelming? I think that's a really great question for this ensemble, because we are many people and we don't all live in the same place, and we don't always have the opportunity to, come together and just have a rehearsal on any given day. We might have a concert planned, but along with planning that concert, we have to plan a bunch of rehearsals, obviously, to get ready for the concert. I know a few people who were supposed to be on the Europe tour right now. Unfortunately, that got canceled because of everything that's been going on right now. But I know the folks who are going to be doing the tour in Europe, that should be happening right now, actually. Sorry, it's been postponed, not canceled. So hopefully we'll be doing that at a later time. But those people coming together and having the chance to play music that is oftentimes very demanding on sometimes very little rehearsal, that kind of just goes along with being a professional ensemble. So maybe one of them can jump in and talk a little bit about that experience.
How about Terry, since I don't think he's introduced himself yet?
Yeah, hey everybody. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Terry. I live in New York, and I'm here now safely inside my apartment. Most of the time I play, or much of the time I play with these three other guys, Ian and Victor and Johnny in Sandbox. I think, actually, so today we were planning to play at the Music Verein, I think was the concert that was today, which is sad for the moment, but I think we're really excited about the rescheduling of that tour. I think that's a good question about, do we get overwhelmed? We might have individual answers for all of us, but I think one thing that's amazing is we as a group, we were concert, the missions of organization. Yes. Yeah. What am I cutting in and out? Oh no. Can you hear me now?
We hear you.
Sorry, everybody. So I think one thing that's really special about this group is that we take these pieces and we play them, like Victor said, with many different organizations of players. But one thing that's really special is that we have now played some of these pieces for many years. So for Sextet, for example, I think everyone in the room right now has played that piece many times with many different players. And I think that while it can seem like a lot of music, I think what's special is that we're building up our familiarity with these pieces over many, many years, and so now I think we all feel that way about the piece Seabourn. It's sort of another piece that we've lived really closely with, and it starts to feel a lot more comfortable, when you take many years to work on a single piece. I think that's really, really actually special and incredibly unique, I think.
Yeah. You mind if I piggyback on that? Because I was going to actually tell a story that's kind of along those same lines of tackling difficult repertoire. So I'm Matt, everyone, and in addition to being a part of the Percussion Collective, I'm one of the percussionists with Jeff Stern in Icarus Quartet. I teach at Peabody, and then I teach at Lebanon Valley College in Pennsylvania. And the story that I was going to tell, and the reason it relates to learning hard repertoire and whether or not we get overwhelmed by it, was actually the Nasher concert that we were doing last year. So that was Jihye, Ian, Sam, and me. And we had to put together a piece that I think we had all played it at some point, but some of us, I think it had ranged from 10 years to 2 years, depending on when we played. We had to put together Village Burial with Fire. And if anyone out there has heard of this piece or knows it, well, one, if you don't know it, you should go check it out, because it's really an amazing piece that every percussionist should know. But it's infamous for being very difficult. And so we had to put this together. We all flew into Baltimore first and did our initial rehearsals there, and then met in Texas for the remainder of the rehearsals. And that was a piece that when I played it during my master's degree at Yale, we took maybe 3 or 4 months to put the entire thing together. And then the second time around, it's not that same story, because we don't live in the same place. And so we had a completely different set of circumstances. But what I was amazed by was that the performance was even better than when we did it in school and took 3 or 4 months to do it. And so through all of our study, and this is why it's so great that we all went to the same school and had the same teacher, is that you build up an understanding of how to work with repertoire of that sort, and how to take these masterpieces that are insanely hard and be able to play them well under shorter and shorter amounts of time. And I feel like that's something that I really gained during school, and that really shows itself in the Percussion Collective, is how do you take these hard pieces and be able to recreate the experience that maybe at one time took you 6 months, and to do that in a matter of 1 week.
Yeah, that's great, Matt. Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking, I was mentioning a little bit before Avaloq, Avaloq Farm Music Institute, which I'm not sure if many people tuning in right now know about it, but if not, it's this amazing arts mecca, basically, where it's in New Hampshire. You give an application, you can go there and spend a certain amount of time on any project that you have. Might even be just rehearsing a piece for your upcoming concert season. I think it usually happens in the summertime and a bit in the fall as well. And the Percussion Collective was there this past summer. And one of the main reasons we were there was basically just rehearsal time and getting us all together in the same room and getting to work on the pieces that we had coming up for that concert season. One of the main things that we were doing there was rehearsing a new concerto for the Percussion Collective called Drum Circles. It's by Chris Theofanidis. It's a percussion quartet, actually. I think it's been played now. I played it in Hartford Symphony in November. I think there's been quite a few performances of it actually this season, which has been really great. And it's just a great piece. And Chris has a really unique voice with percussion music. It's very lyrical and very touching, actually, music, I think. So that's been really fun for us to work on that piece. That was something that we did while we were at Avaloq. We also worked on a new arrangement of Hallelujah Junction that Doug has been working on, or I think not anymore working on, but we are all working on as learning that music. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I don't want to derail us, because we do have quite a few questions still, and I think we can keep moving through them. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at Lewis Raymond gave us a great question here. Hi, everyone. What were some of the most beneficial ways that you spent your time outside of school? I'm finishing my master's this semester and not 100% sure what I'm doing after yet. Actually, I'm seeing we have our little, I have a little notepad here going, and it's looking like before we move on to that, maybe we want to play a little bit of Drum Circles. I'm sorry, I might have forgotten that we have a clip of that.
Why don't you answer that question first? Let me.
Yeah.
Pull that clip
you
up.
Find it. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can pass that off to maybe somebody who hasn't spoken much yet. But yeah, that's a great question, because getting out of school and out of especially your master's program, when you're kind of supposed to go out there into the real world and realize your career, it's definitely can be a daunting thing. I think for us in the collective, I also specifically speak a little bit about my own career and my career outside of the collective, but sort of two things that have been very much a focus for me has been, well, the main thing is actually rehearsal time and getting together and playing music with as many people as possible in as many different musical situations as you can. Whether you think you're going to pursue a chamber music career or not, I think that it's so important, and it's so it's the main focus of the Percussion Collective is the highest quality performance that we are able to put on. And the only way that you're able to do that is really focus on your craft, perfecting your craft as much as you can, practicing, rehearsal times, just putting in the hours, getting to know the people that you're playing with, and really putting yourself in a lot of different musical situations. I really think that there's no substitute for the quality of a performance that you're able to give, and the amount of time put in playing music with other people.
Victor, because I haven't spoken yet, I can jump in a little bit on that too. My name is Garrett Arney. I'm a member of a duo, Arcs Duo, and the Percussion Collective, obviously. But one of the most useful things I think that we can do that Victor kind of spoke about is keeping in touch with your friends and people that you've worked with, and trying as much as possible to put yourself in different collaborative musical situations. I was a member of a group called Ensemble ACJW, and through quarantine, we've been having a lot of different happy hours with a lot of those friends and talking about different projects and just having a good time planning on trying to figure out how to play. And likewise with members of the collective, when you have personal chats or talk about trying to collaboration, which is what the collective is all about, is for me, one of the most useful things I think I've done since school. And a lot of that comes from my experiences in school. Is everybody here I met somehow through school, either auditioning in school or, in skinny hallways or in the same practice room at Yale or Peabody, working very close quarters and staying connected.
We lost you there, Garrett. One more time.
He might be done now, actually, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Garrett. Yeah. Totally just hitting home the time, being able to make music with people that you know, friends of yours, or even people that you don't know. I think that the number one thing has been just kind of putting yourself out there in as many musical ecosystems as you can. Okay, so moving us along a bit, Doug, do you have our video queued up?
I sure do.
Okay, so this is a short excerpt of Drum Circles by Chris Theofanidis. It's a percussion quartet concerto that was written for the Percussion Collective. It was premiered actually in Oregon. I think, do we have everyone here who played that in that premiere? Yeah, Sam G. Hay, Svet. Nice. Matt, there you are. Cool. Yeah. So, okay. So we'll have a short video of that so you can have an opportunity to hear that piece a little bit.
And you can find this trailer on our website as well as the I mentioned this in chat earlier, but we also have a great trailer for Seabourn as well that actually delves into a little more of behind the scenes how that piece was written. All this stuff is on our website, thepercussioncollective.com. So feel free to head over there. But here's a little clip from Drum Circles. You probably want to hear it though, right? Here we go. All right.
Awesome. So that video was actually from Aspen, I think. The collective played it with Aspen Symphony Orchestra. Was it last summer? I think it was last summer, right? Yeah. Awesome. So those were just some clips, recordings from the premiere or the concert in Aspen. Okay, so let's move on with more questions, and we're going to get an opportunity to hear from some people that haven't introduced themselves yet. Okay, let's see. Does anyone have one that they really want to answer? Sam, since you haven't gone yet, you have a specific question here that you want to answer.
Yeah, so I see right now a question from Michael Takehashi. do you do local community educational outreach in conjunction with your performance? First of all, my name is Sam. I'm a member of the collective. Currently, I'm finishing up my DMA program at Peabody Institute. And I guess to quickly say my sort of story of how I joined in was, I think I'm one of the last ones to join in. And I remember we're driving with Jeff, Matt, and Bob. We were driving Bob somewhere, and then that's where he just kind of mentioned it. And I think I was just excited, and to hear names such as, the names that I heard when I was in high school and college, it was very exciting. But go back to the question, do you do local community and educational outreach? And that is something that we're definitely really passionate about. We definitely, whenever we go to performances in the cities, we try to give master classes and some sort of coaching and clinics with the schools around that area. And also we've done artist residency with Curtis Institute last year, where we were able to perform and teach students there, work with the students in a very close level. And also, that's also one of the reasons why we're opening up this new program, which we're calling a sort of vignette or this composer weekly and live stream lessons. And that's been one of our biggest passions. And with this terrible event of coronavirus hitting us, with this isolation happening, we thought it was best for us to kind of use this to start up this live stream events. So next Saturday, we have our first live stream masterclass with Alejandro Vignao and Robert van Sice, also some of the members of the collective. I'm sure some of them. Thank you so much for those who've sent a recording in already. And it's still open until Wednesday. We're going to be receiving recordings until Wednesday, and then we'll announce quickly after that. So it'll be a very exciting new thing. And this, like I said, I think educational side of it is definitely one of the biggest passions of us. So please join in for that.
Actually, Sam, if I could just back up for a second, just introduce this whole Vignao thing that we're doing, in case some of the folks on the stream haven't seen the posts we've been making. So over the next couple of weeks, we're trying to feature some of the composers that the collective has worked with. And the first one that we're doing in this next upcoming week is Alejandro Vignao. The percussionists in the audience of the stream probably have heard of him, maybe have heard of him. He's written a lot of amazing work. And we're going to be talking about this new piece that he wrote for a consortium of groups that we organize called Stress and Flow. And so we're going to feature a couple of videos throughout the week of Alejandro talking about his piece. And the next weekend on Saturday, we have this amazing event. It's going to be a live masterclass with Alejandro and Bob van Sice. And they're actually going to watch a couple performance videos of some of Alejandro's works that have been submitted to us. If you go to our Facebook or our Instagram, you'll see information on how to apply for that if you're interested. And they're going to give kind of live feedback of those performances. That's next Saturday. And then next Sunday, a couple members of the collective are going to have this kind of live question and answer session with Alejandro about his career, about his music, anything that comes up. So I hope you guys can join us for some of those events. That's next weekend, about a week from now.
Yeah, on April 11th. And we're taking submissions until when, Sam, did you say?
Until Wednesday.
Until Wednesday. Great. So yeah, as Ian was saying, you can find that on our Instagram, Facebook. We would love to get some submissions. Alejandro Vignao is a huge voice in the percussion world, so it's really exciting that we're going to be holding this event. Thanks, Ian, for talking more about that. Okay, so I think I just saw a very recent question, which is a good short one, but something that is very topical for us and we can discuss a little bit right now. And that is, any idea when a video or CD might be available somewhere with the collective? We have our resident audio engineer here, audio editor, Svet Stoyanov. So maybe, Svet, you can jump in and talk a little bit about, we recently recorded actually in Miami. So maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Sure. Yes, it's extremely exciting that this project was able to conclude. I think a lot of people who might have projects planned for this very moment may be feeling, at unease, considering that everybody's forced to pause. But we're able to conclude the recording of this project very late 2019. The project was recorded in Miami, actually the Frost School of Music in the Gusma Concert Hall. And the engineer for this project is Michael Bishop, who is just such a wonderful artist to work with. And equally exciting was to have Elaine Martone come and produce this. It was just a tremendously intense experience. I can try to maybe connect the dots when we're doing some of these answers as well as to other questions. One of the most important aspects of this group that I think it's extremely powerful is that we share values in a very particular way. And there are a few maybe points to make here. People generally are extremely open to communication and comments. No one takes things personally. When we work together, I guess we all focus on the music to such a place where, there is no ego in the room. And that helps tremendously, whether you're recording or you're rehearsing. I think that's how we're able to tackle these massive pieces. And especially somebody asked, how can we do this, with living so far away, etc. I think that we understand equally what it means when we say, okay, let's show up and be super prepared for something. That means generally knowing the score extremely well and just knowing the piece in such deep detail, and also being extremely open to feedback, no matter how old or young you are, no matter, which part you're playing, just able to feel like everybody is one and we're here to serve every one of our composers and the music we play. And as far as the recording, that was exactly the case. It's funny because I was, the lucky one to be able to actually edit this in my studio at home and being able to listen to not only the takes, but also the comments between all of us, and just listening to how committed everybody was just to the smallest detail, figuring out how can we make this as best as possible. Should we use a different stick? Bob Van Sice was in the control room and just telling us even the smallest detail of feedback, and us trying to work with him, with Elaine, with Michael, among all of ourselves, just figuring out what's the best thing we can do to get this piece to touch everyone's heart as much as possible and to give it justice. One of the interesting parts about this recording was that Garth Norstadter was with us as well. I guess there are different ways that recordings are done. Sometimes composers are in the booth, sometimes they're not. I think that really depends on the relationship we have with the composers, in their way to give really unbiased critical feedback. That's really just an honest statement. In this case, Garth was just really, he's so experienced with recording. A lot of his music gets recorded for commercial music and from film. So was just so excellent to be there, because also his feedback was extremely clearly detailed to both us and the engineer and the producer. So that being said, it was a very intense day, because the way we did this recording is obviously we knew the piece very well and that team has played it before together. We ended up rehearsing for 3 or 4 days very, very intensely. And when I mean intensely, I mean, 10 hours a day? Am I accurate? Jihei smiling. Jihei, what do you think? Up? Yeah, yes, but some of the guys who were doing this, maybe you should chime in. The whole idea was that we just rehearse until we get this right, to where right means the best we can get it. I've worked with a lot of wonderful people in my life, and I can tell that some people are very comfortable, having crazy rehearsals, and some are not. Actually, I could see the value in both. For us, we know that we do not live always very close to each other, so we have to rehearse as much as possible when we are in the same room. And so that being the case, everybody just kind of comes with the expectation of this is going to be intense. But I have to tell you, honestly, intensity can bring sometimes people to be more stressed, they can be more exhausted. But I believe in intensity drawing out of musicians things that otherwise we could not get out of ourselves. So for me, I always find it to be incredibly stimulating, even though it's tiring. It's just because I feel that I can get out of myself things that normally I couldn't otherwise. And that's partially exactly because of the amazing people playing around me and how much they inspire me and make me a better musician, make me sound better, which is kind of a good thing. So that's a partial answer. I hope that's answering, giving some insights to many of the other questions, and I'll pass the torch to somebody else now.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Svet. I think, for somebody was asking about a release date, we might have answered that in the chat. Not entirely sure about that, especially. Go ahead, Svet. Yep.
No, I did. Seabourn, as I said already, is recorded at this point. We need to just find, out more answers when everything goes back to normal. At this point, we all are in the same situation. Everything is on hold. But trust me, we're working on this because since we finished our recording, now we're actually going through mixes. We're going through the process of hearing back from Michael Bishop and Elaine Martone. So Seabourn is almost done, so you will hear from us shortly. If you guys are interested to hear more, please stay in touch on one of our or many of our online platforms, because we are going to be in touch and share with you some of the music and definitely tell you when this is going to come out.
Excellent. Thanks, Svet. Yeah, so maybe actually, I think Mari, we haven't, just moving us along, I think Mari, we haven't quite heard from you yet. And hey. I had... Yeah. Hey, there's a great question here actually that I wanted to get to. It's about early years of studying. And here, I'll just ask you the question. During your early years of studying, what was the best tip and strategy you learned for practicing? And do those things apply when bringing yourselves together with the collective?
That was from James Albertson. Thank you for that question, James.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Hi. I will just introduce myself first. My name is Mari Yoshinaga. Hi, everyone. I grew up in Japan and I moved to the States to go to Curtis Institute in 2007. And I went to Yale School of Music with Victor, Doug, Johnny, Garrett, Terry, Googie from the collective.
Nice.
So it was awesome. I think everybody had great, everyone had different kinds of early music educations, but I learned a lot from being with you guys that, we can still learn, we can keep learning from each other's and playing these great pieces like Sextet and Seabourn with different group of people, different combination of people. We can keep exploring the music. And I think so keeping my open-minded learning process is something that I learned new from grad school. But from early music, I think I try to own the music, like maybe Bob taught us, all of us, how to really make the music of your own, have your voice, but maybe not interrupt your own voice, but to collaborate with other people. So to find your own voice first I think it's important. Voice meaning your sound and what you want to say with your music, with your sound. That comes from just a lot of practicing, I think. So, yeah.
That's great.
If you can chime in, yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, that's great, Mari. I think I'm even thinking a little bit about like my own personal ways that I practice and things that I feel are the most effective. For me, actually, this is something, to be honest, I wish I did more of when I was in school, which was just play music as much as you can for people. Maybe it's even just like grabbing somebody and bringing them into your practice room and just being like, let me run this piece down for you and help me get nervous, because, it's one thing to practice just the technique of doing something, but performing is a whole nother thing to practice. And I think that when I have, I'm very thankful that I've had some opportunities to perform and get comfortable with that. Because when I'm on the stage with, especially the people in the collective, these are people that I respect so much as people, but also as musicians. These are some of the best musicians that I know and that I get to play with. So having the chance to practice actually performing, so that way when you get on the stage and you have a concert, you're really able to bring your fullest, So I think
it does help to play with somebody, with people that you trust more than yourself. Like I trust you guys more than I trust myself.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on that nice, great boat or great car, just
right,
being on the ride.
group parachuting. right?
Yeah.
You've all heard that one. We all have these little catchphrases that we remember from our school days with Bob van Sice. And group parachuting was definitely one of them, where we're all in it together. You know, we're all in this chamber music experience together. We're in the business experience together. So it definitely feels a little bit like group parachuting. But that's great. Thanks, Mari.
Yeah, and I want to tie this to sort of the question earlier of how do you find time to sort of work together even when we're far away from each other. And I remember from last year when we were doing a premiere of Drum Circles, it was sort of right after this Nashville performance that Matt mentioned. So I remember heading to Nashville with Matt, kind of preparing all these difficult pieces along with this new premiere of a concerto, and us just like sitting outside this museum steps and just singing our way through and just trying to memorize. And I'm sure a couple of you viewers saw this story on Collective Stories where we would even like practice on the planes, we would sing, and you know, we did all sorts of different things. And I'm sure all of you have some sort of stories of this, whereas it doesn't only happen, you know, with the instruments, but we try to use any possible scenarios and situations in order for us to kind of prepare and practice and do all those things. So I think that's, you know, sort of a behind the scenes in a way. Just imagine me and Matt just sitting in the step, just singing out loud and doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, percussion instruments, just having instruments themselves is sometimes an obstacle, you know. So I think there's no percussionist. I think every percussionist here, at least, has been involved in some extensive singing rehearsals. It's definitely a good rehearsal strategy to when you're in your hotel room and you don't have the instruments in front of you. I think actually, to talk a little bit more about that question, oftentimes the rehearsals that we have set for certain concerts are, you know, maybe the day before the concert or 2 days before the concert. So I think each of us really makes sure that we showing up to that first rehearsal like 110% prepared and just ready to basically perform the piece. I think I remember getting ready for the concerto concert in Hartford with Hartford Symphony Drum Circles. I was just like with the MIDI in my ear, you know, like every day basically, because we had a few rehearsals, and you know, it's actually in our quartet sandbox, we rehearse all the time. You know, I might show up and have like the first half of the first page learned, and we'll be like, okay, you know, like that's good for today. But I think with the collective, because we have very few rehearsals and it's very strategically planned out, it works a little bit differently, but also effective, I think.
You know, it's an interesting story for you guys. When I was studying in Bulgaria, one of my teachers, basically in my last few years of study, actually, who, if you know this wonderful Bulgarian percussionist, Vasilena Serafimova, her father actually was my teacher. Vasi lives in Paris and works there. He's a fantastic player. Check her out. Basically, I studied with him for the final few years of my high school, and he would give sometimes music to us we have to play very close to the concerts, and I always used to freak out because I wanted to just get it right and practice, and freak out in the sense of I was really stressed out. So one day I asked him, I said, listen, why are you giving us this music, you know, so late? And he said to me, because if you knew it better, you relax too much. And it's interesting because that's actually there's a middle point here, but sometimes it's actually you know, if you know you're not comfortable with the amount of time you may have had with a piece of music, if you think about it from a positive standpoint, you could realize that being on your toes, if you are just very well prepared, could be a really good thing sometimes. You know, you're listening like a hawk, you are really observing everything you can catch, you are very highly alert. And, you know, if you're very well prepared, even you got the music recently, that could be a really great place to be too, you know? By the way, just because everybody is doing this, and that's what I was trying to say to Sam also, I'm going to introduce super quickly who I am and maybe pass it to Sam just to say hi, because I feel like then you can hear from everyone. My name is Svet Stoyanov. I have been in this country for 20 years. I'm Bulgarian. I work at the University of Miami Frost School of Music, where I teach percussion, play the Career Festival. I do a lot of different other projects with people. And I'm just really fortunate that I can be a part of this really amazing group of friends and wonderful musicians. Can I just pass it to Sam for 1 second?
Absolutely, yeah.
Say hi, Sam. Who are you?
Yeah, I think when I was answering the question, I briefly mentioned, but yeah, I'm currently finishing off the DMA at Peabody Institute. And what I forgot to mention is just how, Jisu mentioned something about, she's grateful for this opportunity, and for me too. I mean, I remember in high school and college, like I remember meeting Doug in the parking lot for the first time when I first came to Yale from Eastman. And I remember just screaming, be like, "You're Doug Perry!" I saw your Velocities videos probably like 1,500 times, and of course we became really close friends, and now we're of course playing this together, in this group together, performing, and that goes for everyone on the screen and who are also not on the screen.
Yeah. I remember that moment too, Sam, and I remember thinking, this is really funny. This guy, he's like running up to me, even though like he can play circles around my marimba playing.
No,
I think I'm just better at editing YouTube videos.
You didn't mention that. I remember you mentioning that. But every day. I mean, I think I say this every time. I'm sure some of you who've played with, I think I've played with everyone here. I always say like, oh, this is just like, I pinch myself every day, whenever we go out and perform this and do this. And it's true. As one of the younger generations here, it's just incredibly amazing opportunity. But also at the same time, this collaboration that happens is just so priceless that I think this group's strength is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the different generations, we were talking about that a little earlier. That's one of the most fun parts about it for us. And the fact that we do all share very similar musical values, I think is really key as well. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been streaming now for almost an hour and a half. And I was thinking it might be cool to grab maybe one or two more questions, mm-hmm. And then start to close. We're going to do the next event that we have is April 11th. It's the one we were talking about with the masterclass with Alejandro Vignao, Robert van Sice, and a few members of the collective. And please send us your submission of you playing a piece by Alejandro Vignao by Wednesday. And it will be considered for that live masterclass. So you can check that out on our social media. So let's grab a couple more questions here. I really like this one actually, and we can throw it to a few people, specific people here. For both Sextet and Seabourn, how was the process of learning the piano parts? I'm not going to answer that question because I do not play the piano parts. Maybe Garrett, Ian, Mari, Terry.
Yeah, I'll jump in, but I'll let my piano compatriots jump in as well. Well, so I think for a lot of us, again, the Seabourn program came from Sextet. Like we had this piece Sextet that we had all played before, and then we commissioned this new piece Seabourn to accompany it on the program. And so the instrumentations were the same. But I think for a lot of us, we had played the piano parts in Sextet when we were in school. And I think we all have a variety of piano backgrounds. I'm not sure the extent of what everyone has, but we probably played a little bit of piano when we were younger. And especially in the Steve Reich piece, the piano part is, I would say it's more percussionistic than pianoistic, right? Like it's a very rhythmic thing that the technical difficulty is not very high. So if you have some experience with a keyboard instrument, it's normally okay. I would say personally, I didn't quite feel that way about Seabourn. Seabourn really challenged me in a big way. I mean, I think Garth definitely took into account the fact that we were drummers, that's what we normally did. Even so, that I would say that Seabourn is one of the hardest piano things that I've ever done.
Me too. I play same part as Ian. It is, I think, written percussively, right? But because I'm not used to performing piano on stage, I get nervous from like, okay, I'm gonna use the third finger and fourth finger, or using 3 pedals plus another pedal. Yeah, definitely takes a lot of time. But music is closer, which is just good. Also, you keep playing with different groups, so it's more comfortable as you play more.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, I think one thing that's really special about getting to play piano in a percussion sextet is I think it gives us the opportunity to really think about our sound in a way that I don't know if I'm always thinking in this way on the instruments I'm comfortable with, but for piano, because I think in some way we're not exactly professionals at that specific instrument. Like I had minor lessons in college, but that was probably the extent of it. But I think it's this amazing opportunity to just really think about the sound quality you're making and how it's blending with your other friends on stage. I don't know. For me, that's a really exciting part of that particular instrument and that instrumentation.
There are also some secret advantages. I remember packing up to go out to a Seabourn sextet concert in the studio once, and I'm searching around the studio. I'm like, oh, I want to have a few different kinds of mallets to try out in the hall, and who knows? And I'm like, got a whole bag, and Ian and Terry are just like, how many mallets you packing there? And I was like, well, I'm thinking about this one, and maybe got the rubber and got the yarn. I was like, what about you guys? And they're just like already out the door because they've got their fingers.
Just these four.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, any percussionist who's listening understands that you might be called to learn a piano part or learn the chromatic harmonica or the recorder or something like that. And it's sort of the spirit of percussion is to figure a way to make it work, and to learn new skills and have to do new things. So that's really a big part of what we do. Okay, so I think we've been going for about an hour and a half. I think maybe we'll wrap up now. Thank you so much, everybody, for such great questions. We really wanted to just have this kind of in our first opportunity for you to all meet us, get to learn a little bit about the collective, some things that we've done, show you a couple videos and some different things. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the next event is April 11th. We're having a masterclass with Alejandro Vignao, Robert van Sice, and members of the collective. And you can send us recordings of you playing music by Vignao by this Wednesday, and we'll check it out for that masterclass. So thank you so much, everyone. I think we're gonna sign off now. Thanks for following along, and stay tuned for our next event.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.